Tennessee is known for its music, mountains, and southern charm. But behind its beauty, there's also a shadowy side filled with haunted tales. From ghostly plantations to eerie hotels and battlefields echoing with spirits of the past. Here are some of the most haunted places in Tennessee that will send chills down your spine. Number 1. The Smith-Trahern Mansion in Clarksville, Tennessee, carries a heavy sadness that many believe lingers as a supernatural presence. The mansion was built in 1858 for Christopher H. Smith and his wife, Lucy Dabney Smith. Christopher, a wealthy tobacconist, often traveled by riverboat for business. During one of these trips, he caught yellow fever and tragically died. His body was being shipped back home, but the steamboat carrying it exploded and sank, leaving Lucy to wait endlessly for a husband who would never return. After Christopher's death, Lucy is said to have spent countless days on the mansion's widow's walk, the rooftop platform built so she could watch for his return. Even after her death in 1905, many people believe her spirit still remains in the house, keeping her eternal vigil. One of the most famous stories is of Lucy's ghost being seen on the widow's walk. Visitors and neighbors have reported seeing a glowing woman in a white dress pacing the roof's edge under the moonlight, staring out toward the Cumberland River as if waiting for a lost ship. Some even claim to hear the faint sound of a woman weeping when the air is still. Visitors on ghost tours say they felt a strange feeling that someone was standing right behind them. Some even noticed door handles slowly turning on their own, followed by the quiet creak of a door opening. Former tenants of the mansion reported hearing mysterious footsteps, creaking doors, and seeing lights sway or furniture move on their own. Even when vacant and without power, eerie lights have been spotted glowing in its upper windows late at night. Number 2. Nashville City Cemetery in Nashville, Tennessee, is more than just a resting place for the city's early residents. It is steeped in history, sorrow, and ghostly tales that many believe still whisper through its pathways. Because of its age and the many lives buried there, including some whose deaths were tragic, the place is widely reported to be haunted. One of the most frequently told stories involves the marker called the Ivy Rock, or Suicide Rock. According to legend, a young woman named Anne Rollins Sanders died in 1836 at just 21 years old, and the stone with a lantern atop was placed there by a grieving fiancé so she would never be left in the dark. People claim to have seen a faint female figure near the rock in the dark, as well as a lantern's light flickering though no one is there. One guest said they heard muffled voices and footsteps behind the tall old trees when the cemetery was silent and empty, a whisper that sounded like someone calling a name in sorrow. Several people have also snapped photographs of strange orbs of light hovering low to the ground beside aged gravestones. Another chilling tale relates to the grave of two young brothers who died of tuberculosis. Witnesses say their headstone appears to be dimly illuminated on their anniversary each year without any added lighting. Walking through the graves at dusk or taking a ghost tour, you may not just see history, you might feel it. Number 3. The Reed House Hotel in Chattanooga, Tennessee is known as one of the most haunted hotels in the region. Among its many stories, none is more talked about than what happens in room 311, where the spirit of a woman named Annalisa Netherly is said to still roam. The haunting goes back to the 1920s when a woman named Annalisa Netherly stayed in the room. As the story goes, she was found brutally murdered in the bathtub. Some say she was beheaded by a jealous lover after he caught her with another man. Others believe she took her own life after being betrayed. No one knows the full truth, but since that day, guests and staff have claimed that Annalisa's restless spirit never left. Guests who have stayed in room 311 report many strange events. One guest said they woke up in the middle of the night to see a shadowy woman standing near the foot of the bed, staring silently before fading into the dark. Others have heard the sound of running water in the bathtub, even when the faucet was off. Male guests, in particular, seem to experience her anger. Several have reported being shoved, scratched, or awakened by loud bangs. A few even claim they heard a woman's voice whisper, "Get out," or felt their blankets tugged off during the night. The hotel staff also say no matter how many times they replace bulbs or fix electrical issues, the lights in room 311 always misbehave. Even today, the Reed House keeps room 311 preserved in its 1920s style, and only brave visitors can book it. Those who stay often leave believing that Annalisa still lingers there. Number 4. Meeman-Shelby Forest near Millington, Tennessee, looks peaceful with its thick woods, calm lakes, and long trails. But once the sun goes down, locals say the forest changes. Many visitors believe this forest is haunted, not only because of its dark past, but also because of a terrifying legend that locals call the story of the Pigman. According to old tales, the Pigman was once a caretaker who worked at a nearby explosives factory during World War II. Some say he was horribly disfigured in an explosion that left his face burned and twisted like that of a pig. Embarrassed and angry, he hid in the forest and attacked anyone who entered his territory. Others say he was a ghost of a man who wore a pig mask to scare trespassers before dying in the woods. No matter the version, locals agree that his spirit still wanders the forest. Locals say the Pigman lured his victims in terrifying ways. He would mimic the cries of a baby or a woman screamed deep in the forest, drawing curious people toward the sound. When they got too close, they'd see glowing red eyes or hear heavy breathing right behind them. Some drivers who parked under the Shakerag Road Bridge say he tapped on their car roof or left muddy handprints on their windows to scare them away. Hikers claim to see a tall, shadowy figure watching from the trees, sometimes holding what looks like a hook or rusted axe. And some campers have woken to find strange hoof-like prints around their tents, as if something circled them all night. Number 5. St. Mary of the Seven Sorrows Church in downtown Nashville is often whispered about as a haunted place, and the reasons are rooted in both its long history and many reported strange happenings. One main reason many believe the church is haunted comes from the story of Bishop Richard Pius Miles, who was buried beneath the altar after his death in 1860. During renovations in 1972, when his cast iron coffin was opened, the bishop's body was found remarkably well preserved, almost untouched by time. This discovery shocked everyone and led to beliefs that his spirit still watches over the church. One of the earliest ghost stories dates back to 1926, when a clergyman named Monsignor John Morgan reported being awakened by loud knocks on his door in the middle of the night. When he opened it, no one was there. Later that night, the knocking returned, but this time, it came from the headboard of his bed. The event left him shaken and convinced that something supernatural was at work. A very famous ghost story from this church is about the figure of a priest who appears late at night. Witnesses, including parish staff and visitors, have seen a tall man in priest robes walking slowly down the aisle or standing near the confession booth. When anyone approaches him, he simply fades away. Some say this could be the spirit of Bishop Miles himself, still watching over his sacred place. Over the years, visitors have also reported other eerie experiences. Some say that church bells sometimes fail to chime on the hour, as though an unseen hand stops them. One story tells of a whisper saying, "Father," inside the confession room when no one was around. Because the church also served as a hospital and morgue during the Civil War, many believe that not only the bishop, but also spirits of wounded soldiers and the dead still linger within its old stone walls. Number 6. Sensabaugh Tunnel in Kingsport, Tennessee, is one of the most haunted and mysterious tunnels in the state. Built in the early 1900s, it has a dark reputation that mixes real history with terrifying local legends. The tunnel was named after Edward Sensabaugh, a man who lived nearby and whose name became tied to countless ghost stories. One of the most famous stories tells how Edward Sensabaugh used the tunnel to trap robbers. According to legend, thieves broke into his home one night and tried to escape through the tunnel with his valuables. Sensabaugh followed them, waited at one end, and flooded the tunnel by opening a nearby water source. The robbers were trapped inside, and their cries echoed in the dark until they drowned. People say if you drive into the tunnel and turn off your car, you can still hear desperate screams and splashing water. Another legend says Edward went insane and murdered his entire family, throwing their bodies into the tunnel. Visitors claim to hear the faint crying of a baby or a woman sobbing when it's completely silent. Some say Edward's ghost guards the tunnel and becomes angry when intruders enter his territory. Many drivers have reported seeing shadowy figures standing at the entrance or a glowing lantern light slowly moving toward them before vanishing. Others say their cars suddenly stall, and when they restart the engine, small handprints appear on the windows as if unseen spirits are touching the glass. Number 7. The Union Station Hotel in Nashville has a rich past that seems to echo in its halls, and many guests and staff believe the building carries spirits from that history. The hotel was once a busy train station where thousands of soldiers left for war during World War II. One of its most famous ghost stories involves a young woman named Abigail, who is said to have waited at the station, watching for her soldier lover's return from Europe. When he never came back, the story goes, Abigail returned to the tracks and threw herself in front of an oncoming train. One version says her spirit still roams the platform area or shows in room 711 of the hotel, where guests report strange phenomena. Guests in room 711 talk about lights that flicker, sudden temperature drops, telephones ringing with no one on the line, and heavy furniture sounds from above, even though the room is on the top floor. Another story tells of seeing a uniformed soldier figure on the tracks outside the hotel, standing and waiting, as though still waiting for a loved one who never came home. Staff members say they'll get chills in the corridor outside the old station waiting area, even when no one is around, and sometimes cameras capture shadowy figures in the lobby arches. Number 8. Brushy Mountain State Penitentiary in Petros, Tennessee, is one of the state's most chilling and haunted landmarks. Opened in 1896 and closed in 2009, this massive stone prison was built by inmates themselves and once held some of the most dangerous criminals in Tennessee's history, including the notorious James Earl Ray, the assassin of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. One terrifying story comes from the solitary confinement area, known as the Hole. Guards once threw violent inmates down there for weeks in complete darkness. People who visit now claim to hear moaning and heavy breathing from empty cells, along with the echo of metal doors slamming shut on their own. Some have even felt an invisible force push or grab them as they try to leave the room. There are also stories about the ghost of James Earl Ray. Several tour guides say they've seen his shadow pacing near his old cell, while others heard faint coughing and shuffling, just like he did during his final days when he was sick and weak. Visitors walking through the cafeteria often report seeing full-bodied apparitions of inmates sitting at tables or hear trays being dropped when no one is there. In the medical wing, people have felt icy hands touch their shoulders or heard whispers saying, "Get out." Many paranormal teams who investigated Brushy Mountain recorded unexplained voices and footsteps on their equipment. Number 9. Cragfont Mansion in Castellan Springs, Tennessee, is one of the oldest and most famously haunted homes in the state. Built between 1798 and 1802 by General James Winchester, a hero of the Revolutionary War and one of the founders of Memphis, Cragfont was once considered the grandest mansion on the Tennessee frontier. Many visitors and historians believe that the spirits of Winchester's family, servants, and enslaved workers still linger in the halls today. Guests and caretakers often report seeing apparitions of people in old-fashioned clothing walking through the rooms or standing by the staircase. Some believe these spirits belong to General Winchester and his family, who lived and died in the house. One of the most famous stories tells of country singer Conway Twitty, who once visited the mansion and quickly left after claiming that unseen forces began throwing objects at him. Others have witnessed candles lighting themselves, doors creaking open, and beds suddenly unmade when the mansion was locked for the night. Some have also reported chains dragging and faint cries from the cellar, thought to be the spirits of enslaved workers who once lived and labored on the property. Number 10. The Tootsie's Orchid Lounge in Nashville, Tennessee, is known for lively country music nights, but it also carries a reputation for being haunted. The bar opened in the 1960s and quickly became a hub for artists, drinkers, and late nights. Over time, many visitors and staff say they've experienced things you might not expect in a bar, which makes Tootsie's more than just a music venue. One of the most repeated stories says the ghost of Hank Williams Sr. sometimes appears in the alley behind the bar, or even inside, as a white misty figure. People have claimed they saw a figure in cowboy boots walking behind the building. Then it vanished. Another reports that during a band performance upstairs, all the lights flickered off and on, and the musician covering a Hank Williams song thought the ghost was giving them a thumbs down. The original owner, Tootsie Bess, is said to still frequent the lounge, especially when a show is going on. Staff say they'll hear tapping on the bar when no one is there, or glasses clinking upstairs even though the area is locked. Some believe her ghost is checking up on the place she loved. During some late night hours, the jukebox or music system has started up without anyone touching it, playing a Hank Williams tune or an old country song, then stopping abruptly. Some regulars say when this happens it means a legend is in the house. Number 11. Sewanee. The University of the South in Sewanee, Tennessee, is one of the most haunted college campuses in the United States. Founded in 1857 and surrounded by the misty forests of the Cumberland Plateau, this historic university has seen its share of war, tragedy, and mystery. Many believe that the lingering spirits still wander the Gothic-style buildings and wooded paths. One of the most famous ghosts is said to haunt All Saints Chapel. Students have reported seeing a ghostly Confederate soldier kneeling at the altar or walking silently down the aisles. During the Civil War, the university's construction was stopped and the grounds were used by Confederate forces, leaving behind memories of death and suffering. Some believe this soldier's spirit is still seeking forgiveness or peace after dying nearby. Another famous ghost is the Purple Lady. Students say she appears near the campus cemetery or along Tennessee Avenue, wearing a long lavender or violet gown. Some believe she is the spirit of a young woman who was killed in a carriage accident long ago. Another terrifying tale tells of a headless horseman who rides through the fog at night. Legend says he was a Confederate messenger who was decapitated during the war while delivering orders across the mountain. His ghost still gallops across campus on a dark horse, holding a lantern. The ghost of a woman in white is said to roam around Tuckaway Hall. She's believed to be the spirit of a housekeeper who died in a fire long ago. People have heard soft sobbing and smelled smoke in empty hallways, even though no fire exists. At the Rebels' Rest, which once served as a residence, people have seen flickering lights and shadows moving past windows when the building is locked. Others claim to hear piano music and feel sudden cold spots in the rooms. Number 12. Parson's Branch Road in the Great Smoky Mountains looks like a quiet, old gravel lane by day, but many people say it feels different after dark. The road runs off Cades Cove and passes old bridges, a small creek, and thick forest. Because of its lonely setting and long history, locals and visitors tell many ghost stories about Parson's Branch Road, and these tales are why some believe the road is haunted. One common tale is the vanishing hitchhiker. Drivers say a young woman or child will appear on the side of the road, wet or scared, asking for a ride. After a short time, she will vanish from the car without warning or be gone when they stop to help. One of the oldest road legends that repeats on Parson's Branch. Another story tells of ghost riders. Some say they saw silhouettes on horseback racing along a faint trail beside Parson's Branch, then disappearing into the woods. Locals link this to older tales about riders lost during storms. People taking photos at dusk later find small lights in the pictures that were not there before, or they hear soft footsteps at the edge of the trees with no one in sight. Number 13. Shiloh National Military Park in Shiloh, Tennessee, is one of the most haunted battlefields in the American South. The land looks peaceful today with its rolling fields and quiet woods. But in April 1862, it was the site of one of the bloodiest battles of the Civil War. Visitors often speak of strange sounds that echo through the park at night. One of the most chilling stories is about Bloody Pond, where wounded soldiers from both the Union and Confederate sides crawled to drink water after the battle. Many died there, turning the water red with their blood. People who visit the pond today say they sometimes see red patches appear in the water. At Shiloh Church, which gave the battle its name, visitors have reported the sound of singing when the building is empty. Locals believe it's the spirits of soldiers who prayed there before going into battle. Number 14. The Tennessee State Capitol in Nashville, Tennessee, is not just a grand building of politics. It carries a past so heavy that many believe restless spirits still roam its halls. One of the most famous tales tells of William Strickland the architect and Samuel Morgan the overseer, who bitterly fought during construction. After Strickland died in 1854, he was buried in the northeast wall of the building. And when Morgan died in 1880, he was placed in the southeast wall. Locals say their feud never ended, even in death. Visitors and staff have reported hearing loud arguing or screaming from inside the walls around 9 p.m., even when no one is there. One security guard once heard voices shouting about budgets and bricks, then walked into the hall only to find it empty. Another haunting tale involves the cupola at the top of the building. During the Civil War, a Confederate soldier allegedly died there defending a flag, and workers later saw a dark mist standing by the spiral staircase, felt a presence watching them, and heard someone say, "Don't touch the furniture." Ghostly figures are also said to appear on the grounds. One night a woman in antebellum dress was seen strolling the tower area, likely tied to the tale of Rachel Jackson, though she died before the building existed. Witnesses say she disappears when approached. Others claim to have seen a man in a dark suit kneeling at the tomb of James K. Polk and his wife Sarah on the Capitol grounds. Some believe it's Polk himself watching over his grave. There are reports of cold drafts in impossible places, lights flickering without explanation, and doors opening on their own in empty corridors. Number 15. Reelfoot Lake in northwest Tennessee holds a haunting reputation that reaches beyond its natural beauty. Formed by the massive earthquakes of 1811-12, the lake lies atop land that many believe is cursed or unsettled, and the water, the swampy surrounds, and the old shoreline carry deep memories of tragedy and violent conflict. One of the earliest legends tells of a Native American chief named Colopin, sometimes called Reelfoot, whose land was flooded by the Great Spirit's anger when he broke an ancient taboo. Witnesses say the earth shook, water rushed in, and the sadness of that loss still whispers in the trees. Visitors have claimed to see a lone figure standing in the mist, facing the water's edge long after sunset. Another chilling story concerns the era of the night riders around the lake in 1908 to 1909. Masked men attacked fishermen and property owners, and the violence left a scar on the land. Locals report hearing the faint drone of voices from that time, and sometimes see ghostly lanterns moving slowly through the cypress trees where the confrontation once took place. Some campers claim to hear the distant sound of children laughing or shrieking in the dark marsh beside the lake, even when the campsite is empty. Photographers visiting dawn or dusk say their camera flashes capture strange mist-like shapes hovering over the water, or capture reflections of a face in the pool of swamp water that wasn't there when they looked with their eyes. Others talk of red patches appearing in the water, as though the blood of old battles still stains the shallows. These haunting experiences often occur around the old logging docks where many died from accidents and drownings.